Welcome to Kiss Me Son of Pod, a podcast where I read from my newsletter, where I am writing about every song by They Might Be Giants. I'm your host, Chased Roper. Did I say chased? Did I just say chased Roper? Wrong. I'm your host, Chase Roper, of course. We are in the throes of listening to the songs of the self-titled album. Sorry, of course I can't afford any serious podcast equipment, so I am talking into the Voice Memos app, just into my phone, holding it in my hand. It is a nice phone. It is an iPhone 15 Pro. I feel like it might as well be professional podcast equipment at this point. But notifications are going off because I forgot to turn those off. And they're very distracting and making for a terrible episode for you to listen to. I'm at home. I'm not outside. My throat is scratchy with the urge to want to cough like that. Oh no, now it's never going to stop. But the plague has left me. I'm plague-free. I am no longer dying, unless you just count the ceaseless, unending march of time as we race towards our inevitable end of life. In that sense, we are all dying. But we're not here to talk about that stuff that I take medication to not think about so much. We're here to talk about the next song on They Might Be Giants' Pink album. Before we dive into it, if you would like to read the newsletter that this podcast is a companion for, of which this podcast is a companion, I should say, you can do so for free by visiting kissmesonofblog.com. I'm about to start writing about the album called Miscellaneous Tea, which is really not a studio release. It's a compilation of B-sides and remixes, but it was paramount to my experience in the very early days of discovering and jumping into everything that was They Might Be Giants. So it's an important one for me to include. We're wrapping up the Flood album, so if you want to jump in the conversation there, we would love to have you. And by we, I mean myself. And this is, of course, a completely reader and listener-supported project. So if you would like to throw money my way, the best way to do that is go to Substack at kissmesonofblog.com and use that platform to subscribe. And there's some paid options there, minimal amounts, but it all goes a long way. Let's jump into it. Today we're going to read about, you're going to listen. You're not going to do any reading, okay? That's my promise. That's the Kiss Me Son of Pod promise. And you can't break a pod promise. Those are unbreakable. So we're gonna talk about the song Youth Culture Killed My Dog, which I almost titled my newsletter Youth Culture Killed My Blog. That was a big contender. I almost named it that. So close. This was the first song that I had started writing about and then deleted the first sentences and waited to come back the next day, about 4 days in a row. And if you begin a project like Kiss Me Son of Blog, where you set off to write about your experience with every single They Might Be Giant song, you're bound to run into this situation. So I try not to beat myself up about it. So here's what I know about this song. I like this song, number one. There's a part of the song that sounds like an 8-bit video game character laughing that kind of goes like, ew, ew, ew. It's impossible to spell, also impossible to do out loud. That little something is just like ear candy to me. It's just a weird little sound, and it's the first thing I think of when I think about Youth Culture Killed My Dog. Another thing that I think about when I listen to this song are my own memories and the loss of my childhood dog, Asia. My parents named him after the Steely Dan album that I've never been interested in listening to. It was your typical Christmas morning, snow on the ground, Willie Nelson's Pretty Paper, Christmas album playing on Dad's record player, and a golden Cocker Spaniel puppy with a present bow tied around his collar, and he needed to go pee outside. So Asia was intended to be a Christmas gift to my mom. She desperately wanted a purebred golden Cocker Spaniel. But as he grew up, he got bigger, and he also became more fond of me versus my mom. And then after many pee-related accidents in the house, Mom decided it's time for Asia to live outdoors. My dad built him a large doggy shelter with a big fence around it and installed a heat lamp inside for the cold weather. And it was filled with blankets and a big dog pillow, like the works. I was sad about it. I believe he was sad about it. The dog, not my dad. I don't know how my dad felt about it, to be honest. Probably indifferent. And loved the project of building the awesome doghouse. So maybe he liked it. But he was taken care of out there. Me and Asia, we grew up playing in the surrounding woods. I lived on 5 acres of 1 acre of not forest and 4 acres of surrounded forest. We'd go on like typical boy-dog adventures. When my mom tried to get a new dog, this time it was a little Shar-Pei that ended up having Cujo levels of aggression. Asia would protect me and my little sister. And this new dog would bite the front of bumper cars. Bumper cars would bite the front of bumpers of cars that, drove their way down our rocky, dirty road leading to the house, and would insist on greeting all humans with an attempt on their lives. Even still, my superior dog would play with this new animal member of our family, often running off together into the woods and returning sometime at the end of the day, a much-needed break from that little demon dog. Finally, Asia had enough of this aggressor. The two of them ran off into the woods together, and only Asia returned later that night. My dad would come home from work that night and reveal the heartbreaking news to my mom that he had found her dog on the side of the road, peacefully no longer alive. The reign of terror was over. Asia had led this dog through the woods and to the busy road. He straight up murdered that other dog. I will never forget the way Asia seemed to be grinning with joy and deceit when he returned from his forested journey of vengeance. When we moved away 6 years later, my grandma moved in and my dog stayed with her. Newer suburban homes and cul-de-sacs were not suited for any sort of outside dog, according to my mom. Her new black Cocker Spaniel, who also had accidents in the house, was welcome to continue living inside and to move to the new house with us, however. Could it be because this dog appeared to prefer her company to anyone else's, unlike Asia? Certainly seems that way. Do I have unresolved issues with my mom? Of course I do, and I intend to keep it that way. I would get to visit with Asia whenever I saw my grandma, which was pretty often. I'd spend time with him in our little spot. It was under a large cedar tree. There's this thick patch of mossy grass right under that tree, and I would rub his belly. I'd watch him smile. One day, my grandma said, Asia stopped coming back home in the evenings. I can't remember my last encounter with Asia. I don't have a memory of what was that last time with him, but I do know that I wasn't with him at the end of his journey, and I think about that sometimes, and I feel guilty. And then I feel anger toward my mom for arbitrarily allowing her dog to come with us, and then later getting my younger sister several pets over the years, also in that new house. It was specifically my dog that couldn't come along. I read a brief interview a while back where John Flansburgh shared the origins of youth culture killed my dog. The very shortened summary is that he had a dog that he loved, and this dog hated a particular song by a particular rock artist, and whenever the dog heard this one song, he would get snarly and aggressive. Then one day in public, Flansy was with his dog, and the song came on, and his dog bit someone as a result, and his dog had to be put down. Youth culture killed his dog, and he did not think it was fair. Childhood pets have lasting imprints on our memories and lives. Sometimes we think of them when we visit other people's pets. We watch kids with animals on TV, or when we listen to the 12th song on They Might Be Giants' self-titled album. Let's listen to, since I forgot to do it earlier, let's listen to some of Youth Culture Killed My Dog, including the 8-bit digital voice part that I mentioned earlier.
Youth culture killed my dog, and I don't think it's fair. And his suicide can't be justified by the test makers how they cried and cried so. Back in the day, man, used to write favorite songs. Never to worry. Unflexible. But the night lights and my dog's laugh on exactly one.
There we have it. What do we think? It's a fun song. It's a rocking song. It's upbeat. It makes me feel happy when I listen to it, but also then feel guilty and shameful, longing for my dog and angry at my mom. I have a complicated but enjoyable relationship with youth culture killed my dog. Excuse me. So that's it for the episode. Thanks for listening to Kiss Me Son of Pod. If you enjoy this, you might enjoy my other newsletter, which I mentioned Kiss Me Son of Blog. Of course, this is the companion to that newsletter. I also write a newsletter called The Art and Anxiety of Overthinking, which you can find if you visit the other thing that I just talked about. It's a meta-narrative about my life, mostly me writing about me writing. It actually sounds annoying to describing it that way, but that's what I'm doing. That's the only way I can journal. It's just a personal blog. I have a personal blog. But that's the episode. Again, thanks for listening, and we will be back next week, where I will not have had so much coffee and will hopefully talk a little bit slower so that I can enunciate all of my words clearly. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Son of God.